join?
Shreya has joined and she's already spotlighted. She's all good to
Okay.
go.
Shrutismritipurananam alayam karunalayam namami bhagavadpada Shankaram lokashankaram sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Paramanandam Krishna. With the abundant blessings of our Acharya Swamiji, we are continuing with our study of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18, Moksha Sannyasa Yoga. The chapter started with a question on the difference between Tyaga and Sannyasa. And in the context of a Karma Yogi, Bhagavan did not want to make any big distinction between the two. And he gave an ultimate resolution saying that Yajnadana tapasyaiva pavanani manishina. Yajna, dana and tapas must be done. Kartavyaniti, they must be done. And then he went into the mechanics of karma, how karma has to be done, under what circumstances it will succeed. 5 causes of karma. And one who confuses that he is the doer, because all these 5, the first 4 of the 5 appear to be of his own making. So he is led to think that I am the doer of this action, whereas those 4 also come from gunas, which come from birth. So there was an occasion for Bhagavan to go into detail of karma, karta, jnana, etc., with reference to the 3 qualities. Now, jnana he took up first for this analysis. He defined the sattvika jnana and rajasa jnana, and now he has come to tamasa jnana. Sattvika jnana he defined as seeing Bhagavan everywhere, in all living beings equally. That is the definition. Rajasa, yes, he also sees Bhagavan everywhere, but he does not see equally. He thinks they are different. Pritaktveena tu yajna. Difference between living beings. That is Rajasa. Now he is coming to Tamasa. Yes.
Yattu kritsnavadekasmin कार्ये सक्तमहैतुकम् अतत्त्वार्थवदल्पं च तत्तामसमुदाहृतम्.
Tat tamasam udahritam. Tat jnanam tamasam udahritam. That jnana is called tamasa, which yattu Krishnavat ekasmin karye saktam. Focusing on one particular object, ekasmin karye. Saktam, getting attached to that object and viewing that that is the whole. Krishnavati means as if that was the whole. Ahaitukam, it has no backing of reason. If you ask him to substantiate why he does that, no reason. Atattvarthavat, far from reality. There is no reality in his approach. Alpam, very limited, very petty. His approach is very petty. Now, Shankara gives detailed explanation of all these terms. Krishnavat, he says, Samastavat sarva vishayam iva ekasmin karye dehe bahirva pratimadav saktam. Either outside of him or in a particular image, he thinks Bhagavan is restricted to that image or in a particular vision. Etavaneva Atma Ishvaraha va na atah param asti. This is Ishvara, nothing more beyond this. And he is quoting the argument of Jains. Yatha nagna kshapanakadinam, shramanaka is Jain. Sharirantarvarti deha parimanaha jivaha. They think that jiva is of the size of the body. The bigger the body, the bigger the jiva. The smaller the ant has the smallest jiva. Man has got a higher jiva. This is their stand, which is totally incorrect. Ishvaraha va pashana darvadi matram. They also think that Ishvara is restricted to a stone image or a wooden image, daru. Ityevam ekasmin karyam sattam. One particular image or one particular object, they think restricts Ishvara. Yathabhutaha arthaha tattvarthaha. Reality as it is, that is tattvartha. Now, this man is atattvarthaha. He doesn't understand what is reality. Alpa vishayatvat, alpa phalatvat, alpa petty. Petty in two respects. His matter is petty, and the fruit of his approach is also petty. So he says, this jnana is leading nowhere. This is tamasa jnana. It is going to take you further downwards. That is the characteristic of tamasa, which we have seen before. It will take you downwards further and further. Rajasa, at least there is a chance you will go up if you make efforts. But tamasa, it is very difficult. Yattu krishnavade kasmin karye saktamahaitukam tat atattvarthavedalpam cha tattamasamudahritam. Next.
नियतं सङ्गरहितम् अरागद्वेषतः कृतम् अफलाप्रेप्सुना कर्म यत्तत् सात्विकमुच्यते.
Next, he goes into the categorization of karma. Jnana has been categorized. Now, karma and karta, he said these three I will categorize. This is how he started. Now he has taken up karma. What is sattvika karma? Yat karma tat sattvikam uchyate. That karma is called sattvika, which niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshataha kritam aphala prepsuna. These are the conditions. Niyatam. It is obligatory activity. It's not an optional activity. Because it is obligatory, you are doing it. But when you are doing an obligatory activity, you are doing without any attachment. Sangarahitam. Aragadveshataha. With no attachment, with no aversion. With no attachment, with no aversion. With no special liking or with no special aversion. Aphala prepsuna. Without looking for any fruit. Prepsuhu means seeking, desiring. Desirous of obtaining. Desirous of obtaining fruit is phala prepsuna. Aphala prepsuna, he is not desiring any fruit. If a karma qualifies these conditions, then that can be called a sattvika karma. It must be an obligatory karma, because if you take a karma which is kamya karma, which is driven by desire, naturally, sangarahitam, aragadveshatah kritam, etc. will not apply. So, it has to be an obligatory karma, yajna dana tapas, which Bhagavan mentioned. It has to be done without any attachment. It has to be done without any special liking or desire or derision, aversion, and without looking for the fruit. No desire for the fruit. That is the most important. We have been saying it again and again. So that is sattvika karma. Now we took up this Bhadrahari's Niti Shatakam Shloka, which says, वहति भुवनश्रेणीं शेषः फणाफलकस्थिताम् कमठपतिना मध्ये पृष्ठं सदा धार्यते कष्टं सदा स च धार्यते अनदर पाठभेद तमपि कुरुते क्रोडाधीनं पयोधिरनादरात् अहः महतां निस्सीमानः चरित्रविभूतयः महतां चरित्रविभूतयः for great people their conduct their stories are full of glory charitra vibhutaya and glory unlimited nissimanaha for great people their conduct their stories are of unlimited glory ahaha it is so such a wonder he is expressing wonder ahaha ahaha and he is giving example vahati bhuvanashrenim sheshaha phanafalakasthitam Adishesha carries all the worlds, not just the earth. All the worlds, 14 worlds. Bhuvanashreni, the row of worlds. How he carries? Kanaphalakasthitam on the plank like the hoods. 1,000 hoods he is having. On the hoods, the whole weight is bone, vahati. He is bearing the weight. Kamathapati na madhye kashtam sada sacha dharyate. The tortoise, Kamatapatina Kurmadhipatina, the tortoise bears the whole weight, including Shasha, Kashtam, with so much of difficulty, so much of weight, Sadadharyate, always. Tamapi kurute krodadhinam payodhiranadarat. Payodhi, ocean, carries this Adishesha on its lap, Krodadhinam. It is not Krodhadhinam, it is Krodadhinam. Kroda is lap. So, on its lap, on the lap of the ocean, Shesha is being carried Anadarat without any special effort. Leelaya. Anadarat Leelaya, sportingly. This is the greatness of great people. That is how karma should be done. Sattvika karma should be done this way. These are the examples. Then we go to next. Niyatam sangarahitam aragadveshatakritam apalaprepsuna karma yattat sattvikamuchyate. Next.
यत्तु कामेप्सुना कर्म साहङ्कारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजसमुदाहृतम्
Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam. That karma is called Rajasa. Tatu Rajasam Udahritam. What are the characteristics of Rajasa karma? Yattu kamepsuna. It is driven by desire. Kama. The whole karma, not only a fruit. You have desire for doing the karma itself. Kama epsuna. Sahankarena va punaha. Here va does not mean or, which is the normal meaning. Here it means and. That is why punaha is using. And ahankarena, sa ahankarena, with ahankara, with ego. A karma which is done with ego, a karma which is driven by desire. Kriyate bahulayasam, with great effort. Sattvika karma, because he does not attach ownership to himself. He says this, whatever Bhagavan has resolved, that will happen. That is how he is doing the karma. He doesn't feel the burden. Whereas this Rajasa man thinks he is the doer, so it becomes a great effort for him. Bahula ayasam, great effort, much labor. Sahankarena iti na tattvajnana apekshaya. Laukike shrotriye nirahankara apekshaya. That is, Normally, those who are mundane and those who are Shrotriyas, Vaidikas, masters of Vedas, they have this ahankara. I will do the best karma. I know the Veda, So that is ahankara. Tattvajnana apekshaya. Na tattvajnana apekshaya. Not because they are interested in tattvajnana. They want to show off their efficiency in doing the karma. That is ahankara. Paramartha nirahankaraha atmavit. If he is the real Atma, knower of Atma, he will always be focused on Paramartha and he will not be having this ego. Kame sutta bahulayasa kartritva praptihi asti. This great effort driven by desire, etc., will not apply to a knower of Atma. Even Sattvika man, very often, Shankara says, very often, is found to have ego. Then what about Rajasa and Tamasa? Kimuta Rajasa Tamasa yoho. So that is Rajasaka. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena va punaha kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasamudahritam. Next.
अनुबन्धं क्षयं हिंसाम् अनपेक्ष च पौरुषं मोहादारभ्यते कर्म यत्तत्तामसमुच्यते
Yat karma arabhyate tat tamasam uchyate. That karma which is started in this manner is called tamasa karma. Which manner? Anubandham, shayam, himsam, anapekshata, paurusham. Anapeksha means not considering, not caring for. Not caring for anubandham. He does not consider, if I do this karma, what will be the result? Will it harm somebody? Will it bring good to me? Will it bring good to anybody else? You should ponder over the results of your karma beforehand, before starting. That is anubandham. Anubandham anapeksha. He does not care for the result. The next step. Kshayam. Yasmin karmane griyamane shaktikshayaha arthakshayaha vasyat. If I do this work, it may end in decline of my shakti, of my power, or of my wealth. That you should consider. Whether you have sufficient wealth, whether you have sufficient power, that you should consider before starting the karma. This man does not consider all that and then he starts. Himsam, whether it will cause any violence to anyone, any living creature or anybody else, it will cause any harm to anyone. Paurusham, whether I have the ability, Shaknami idam karmam samapayatam ityevam atma samarthyam purushakaram. Purusham is what is called generally as purushakaram. I can do this work. I have the ability. Atma samarthyam. I have this ability. That is Paurusham. He does not consider that, whether he has the ability, whether he has the resources, without considering the result, Anubandham, without considering the decline in his power and the wealth that will happen once the karma is taken up, without considering whether any violence is caused to anyone else, without considering whether he has the resources, ability. Not only that, mohat, why he does all this? Avivekataha. He is so much driven by a particular point of view. That is why he started this karma. He wants to run in competition with someone else. This man has spent 10,000 rupees on that particular thing. I will spend 20,000 rupees. Whether I have 20,000 rupees, I don't. But I must spend because I must prove bigger than him. This kind of delusion, mohat, avivekataha, without any proper discrimination. That is why he is ignoring all these important aspects. This karma is called tamasa karma. And there is a Subhashitam. which nicely brings out this aspect. It says, Sampradarya chakurvita sahasa nasamacharete Nubandhanavekshete Sanubandheshu karmasu. Before you start any work, sahasana samacharete, don't start instantly in a hurry. At the spur of the moment I did this. No, don't do that. Sampradharya, after duly deliberating all the aspects, then only the work should be undertaken. Anubandhan aveksheta, the same word anubandha which is used here, Subhashita also uses. Consequence, sequence and consequence. What next? What will happen next? So that you should consider. Sanubandheshu karmasu, particularly those karmas which have certain definite results. There may be certain karmas which may not have much result as such. The karma may end there itself without causing any result. That is insignificant result. But if the result is significant and you don't consider it, that is going to cause troubles. Sampradharya chakurvita sahasana samacharet anubandhan avekshete sanubandheshu karmasu. Anubandham kshayam himsam anapekshita paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattattamasamuchyate.
मुक्तसङ्गो नहं वादी धृत्युत्साहसमन्वितः सिद्ध्यसिद्ध्योर्निर्विकारः कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते.
Now Bhagavan has moved over to the categorization of karta. Jnanam is over, karma is over. Karta, the person who does. Karta is also the bhokta. He is the enjoyer. He attributes enjoyment to himself. He does not think Atma is the doer, Atma is the enjoyer, I have nothing to do with it. He does not think like that. So, karta is also bhokta in our analysis. Karta sattvika vichyate. That karta is called sattvika. Who? Mukta sangaha. He does everything without any attachment. No attachment. Muktaha parityaktaha sangaha yena saha. Having abandoned all attachment. Anahamvadi. No ahankara. No ego. Not at all unegoistic. No ego. Dhriti utsaha samanvitaha. Two characteristics characterize his approach. One is dhriti, another is utsaha. Dhriti has got two aspects. One is endurance. Whatever difficulties will come in the process of doing this karma, I will bear them. That is, I will endure them. And second is resolution. Whatever may be the obstacles, I will definitely complete this karma. That is dhriti. Utsaha, of course, is the application of the mind, the enthusiasm. That is utsaha. Dhriti utsaha samanvitaha, accompanied by a resolute attitude and accompanied by enthusiasm and effort. Siddhi asiddhayoho nirvikaraha. Nirvikaraha, no change. Whether you succeed or whether you don't succeed. Siddhi is success, asiddhi is failure. Kriyamanasya karmanaha phalasiddhau asiddhau cha nirvikaraha. Kevalam shastra pramanena prayuktaha. I am doing this karma because Shastra has told me to do this karma. I have the authority of Shastra. I have the support of Shastra. I am not interested in the fruit. Na phalaragadina. That is nirvikara. If you are qualifying these conditions, then you are a sattvika karta. That is, you are completely unattached to the karma, to the fruit, to everything connected with that karma. You are doing that karma only because Shastra expects you to do this. And you are doing it without any ego, anahamvadi. Atma is the doer. Atma is the energy. I have no energy. I am a jada. I am an inert person. How can I do this karma? Dhriti utsaha tamanvitaha, with full endurance and resolution, and with full enthusiasm and effort, and with no change in the mind whether I succeed or whether I fail. Now there are a few subhashitas which I have picked up in this context. Subhashitas are always very interesting. Now he says, उत्साहसम्पन्नम् अदीर्घसूत्रम् क्रियाविधिज्ञम् व्यसनेष्वसक्तम् शूरम् कृतज्ञम् दृढनिश्चयम् च लक्ष्मी स्वयं वाञ्छति वासहेतोः. Such a person, Lakshmi wants to come and live in him. Lakshmi wants to reside in him. Lakshmi hi swayam vanchati vasahetoh. For finding a residence, she picks him up. This kind of person. Utsaha sampannam. He is always full of enthusiasm. He never does anything with a long face. Adirgha sutram. This is important. This dirgha sutri comes in a different context. In sloka number 28, it is going to come. Dirgha sutra is one who procrastinates, postpones. What I can do today, I will do after 1 month. That is dirgha sutra. That is not correct. Adirgha sutram, never postponing. Kriya vidijñam, he knows all the procedures, all the rules. Vyasaneshvasaktam, whether this will lead to any evil. The karma is good. My attitude is good. Like Bhagavan said himsa earlier. Whether it will lead to any problem for me or for anybody else. So, vyasaneshu asaktam, so not interested in creating a situation for crime or sin or evil. Shuram, he has all the courage. Kritagnyam, he knows what is to be done. Dridha nishchayancha, his resolve is pakka, final. Such a person, Lakshmi, chooses for living. उत्साह संपन्नम अदीर्घ सूत्रम क्रिया विधिज्ञम व्यसनेष्वसक्तम शूरम कृतज्ञम दृढ़ निश्चयं च लक्ष्मी स्वयं वाञ्छति वासहेतोः. Then we have yes. आहरेत् ज्ञानमर्थांश्च पुमान् अमरवत् सदा गृहीत इव केशेषु मृत्युना धर्ममाचरेत्. A different approach, but concerning the same subject. Very beautiful. He says, when you are after jnana and artha, when your aim is to get knowledge, when your aim is to get wealth, then don't be in a hurry. Take it gradually. Puman amaravat sada, as if you are going to live eternally like a deva. As if I will live eternally, I will gradually acquire knowledge, I will gradually acquire wealth. Because if you hurry up with knowledge and wealth, you will make mistakes. Then it will not be, you will not be sattvika karta. But when you have to do dharma, grihita eva kesheshu mrityuna dharma macharet. When you have to do dharma, when you have to perform activity which is dharma, then what you have to do? As if Mrityu is standing by your side, holding your hair in his hand. Mrityuna grihita eva kesheshu. He is going to pull you with your hair and take you away. That should be your approach. Means what? Don't postpone, because Mrityu may come anytime. Whatever dharma, good thing you want to do, dhanam, whatever, yajna, dana, tapas, Bhagavan said, whatever. Don't postpone. Don't say, I will do tomorrow. Because tomorrow may never come. आहरे ज्ञानमर्थांश्च पुमान् अमरवत् सदा गृहीत इव केशेषु मृत्युना धर्ममाचरेत्. This is a very famous, celebrated shloka in Subhashita. Then This is another very famous sloka. Shreyamti bahu vignani bhavanti mahatamapi ashreyati prapannetu vapiyanti vinayakaha. It's a very practical sloka. What you observe every day. When you want to do something which is very good, you will find number of obstacles. Shreyamsi bahu vignani. Whenever you want to do something for your shreyas, for your spiritual advancement, you will find there are plenty of obstacles. Bhavanti mahatamapi. What about us? Even for great people, these obstacles arise. But the moment you start something which is not shreyas, achreyati prapannetu, when something which is not conducive to shreyas comes your way, prapanne, he says, he doesn't say you take up that activity, you should not take up that kind of activity, but it comes your way, you cannot avoid that. Then what happens? Kvapiyanti vinayakaha. All these obstacles disappear. Where they have gone, nobody knows. So many obstacles came when I wanted to do an activity for Shreyas. The moment activity which is far from Shreyas comes my way, all the obstacles disappear. This is the truth of life, reality of life. So you have to be aware of this and proceed accordingly. Warn you against not losing your utsaha because of this. That's the idea. Mukta-sango anaham-vadi dhrityutsaha-samanvitaha siddhi-siddhyor-nirvikaraha satvika-uchyate. Next.
रागी कर्मफलप्रेप्सुः लुब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः हर्षशोकान्वितः कर्ता राजसः परिकीर्तितः.
Karta rajataha parikirtitaha. That karta, that doer, is called Rajasa Karta. Who? Raji. Full of liking. He wants to do that karma. He has a special liking for that karma, attachment to that karma. Karma phala prepsuhu. He is driven by desire for the fruit. If you tell him, you do this karma, no fruit for you, he will run away. He will not take up. Karma phala prepsuhu. Lubdhaha. He is greedy. Not only he is looking for the fruit of that karma, if he can catch hold of somebody else's property, he will be even more happy. Paradrivyeshu sanjata trashniha. Having desire for somebody else's wealth, lubdha. Himsatmakaha, he doesn't care whether it harms someone. Parapidakara swabhavaha. His nature is to harm. Where is the question of feeling sorry for harming? His nature is to harm somebody and derive his own selfish fruit. Himsatmakaha. Ashuchihi, such a person you don't expect any purity naturally. He has no bodily purity, he has no mental purity. Ashuchihi. Harsha shokanvitaha. He is always full of pleasure or full of misery. He is never balanced. He is one of the two extremes. Ishtaprapto harshaha. When he gets something which he wanted, he is very happy. Anishtaprapto ishtaviyogecha shokaha. When he gets something which he did not desire, he becomes miserable. Or he felt very happy yesterday because he got something. Today he lost it. Ishtaviyoge. Then also he feels miserable. So under these two conditions, he feels miserable. When whatever he had, he lost. And whatever he was expecting, he didn't get. Shokaha. This is his characteristic. Sampatti vipattibhyam harshashokau syatam. When he gets something, wealth, he is happy. When he is faced with a danger, he is miserable. Danger is twofold, as we saw. So such a karta is Rajasa karta. Raji karma phala prepsuhu. He is driven by passion, driven by desire, attachment, fruit of the karma. He is greedy. He doesn't bother about violence to others, harm to others. Very impure, internally as well as externally. Always indulging, rolling in pleasure or misery. This is the characteristic. Ragi karma phala prepsuhu yuddho himsatmako shuchihi harsha shokanvita karta rajata parikirtitaha.
अयुक्तः प्राकृतस्तब्धः शठो नैष्कृतिकोलसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते.
That karta is called tamasa. Karta tamasa uchyate. Who? Ayuktaha. He is never interested in the job. He does the job as a compulsion. His mind is not in the job. And that is common we find in many cases. Commonly we find this in many cases. People do job because they are forced to do the job. They don't have any attachment, interest in doing the job. Here we are not talking about attachment to the karma or to the fruit. That is of course not expected. But utsaha is expected. This is opposite of that. Ayuktaha. Prakritaha, atyanta asamskrita buddhihi balasamaha. He is like a child. His mind has never been purified. Asamskrita buddhihi. Samskrita means purified. So his intellect is not at all purified, full of impurity. That is prakrita. Stabdhaha. Stabdha means very arrogant. He can never bend. Shankara defines it like that very beautifully. Dandavat nanamati kasmai chit, like a staff, like a pole. He will stand without bending, without prostrating to anybody, however great the other person may be. He will never bend, he will never bow. That is stabdha. Shashaha, that is the worst. Shataha means mayavi, shakti guhanakari, deceitful, tricky, hiding his strength. Whatever he proposes to do, he will not show. He will show something else. That is Mayavi, cheating. He proposes to do something which is going to harm you tomorrow. Today he will come and meet you and tell me, oh, tomorrow I am going to do something which is extremely useful to you. This is how he will start. That is Shataha, full of cheating. There is a definition in Shastras for Shataha. Shatoyamekatra baddha bhavo yaha darshita bahir-anurago vipriyam anyatra gudhamacharati. His mind is linked to a particular way of action, baddha bhava. But he is showing something entirely different to you. And he is showing attachment to you, and he is going to do harm to you. Darshita bahi anuragaha vipriyam anyatra gudham acharati. In secret, gudham. In secret, he is going to do something which is going to harm you, but he will show as if he is. This Shatha, in Vaishnava literature, there is a term called Shatakopa. Normally in Tamil they call him Shadagopan. There are some people whom you might have seen. Shadagopan. It is neither Shada, neither Gopa. It is Shatakopa. Now, that means you should be angry with this kind of approach. Shatakopa. You should never allow this kind of approach to come anywhere near you. And Shatha is associated in our Shastras with a certain Vayu, which accompanies you at the time of birth. At the time of birth itself, the Shatha comes along with you. And if you are a good soul, you will drive away that Vayu. This is what Shastra says. So you will behave with that Vayu in anger, Shatakopa. Ammalvar, the first Vaishnava saint, he was named Shatakopa. He was the first one to be named Shatakopa because he was right from childhood, right from the age of 1, 2, 3. He was not an ordinary human being. He was living in a hole in a tree, in a tamarind tree. And then he was completely given to Atmananda. He never cared for the world, even at that young age. That is Nammayvar. He was the first Shatakopa. Of course, that Shatakopa is used like a title in Vaishnava saints. Shatha. Naishkritikaha. Paravibhedanaparaha. Wicked. Naishkriti. Naishkriti means wrong kriti, wrong action. That means wicked, malicious. Alataha. Alataha means lazy. Apravrittishilaha kartavyeshu api. Even something which has to be done, he will not do. That is lazy. Vishadi. Always with a downcast face, long face. Always. Despondent, pessimistic. Vishadi. Arjuna Vishada Yoga was the first chapter in Gita because Arjuna was downcast at that time for other reasons. Dirgha Sutri, we just saw. Kartavyanam Dirgha Prasarana. Whatever has to be done, he will keep on postponing. Sarvada Mandasvabhavaha, always slow in nature. Yat Adya, how beautifully Shankara has, very practically he advises, he says. Yat Adya Swahava Kartavyam Tat Masena Api na Karoti. What should be done today or tomorrow, he will not do even in 1 month. The very word Shankara writes. That is Dirgha Sutri. This kind of karta is called tamasa karta. Not showing any enthusiasm in the work. Very impure mind. Not purified intellect. Very arrogant. Never bending himself even before people of honor. Full of tendency to cheat. Full of tendency to harm. Causing harm to others. Always lazy, always despondent, always pessimistic, always having a tendency to postpone. These are the characteristics of a tamasa karmi. Ayukta prakrita stabdhaha shatho naishkritiko lasaha vishadi dirgha sutri cha karta tamasa uchyate.
बुद्धेर्भेदं धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय.
Now, Bhagavan started saying about jnanam, karma, karta. Now he has completed these 3 subjects. Now he is taking up another subject. Buddhi and dhriti. This buddhi and dhriti also he wants to categorize into 3 types of buddhi, 3 types of dhriti. Buddhir bhedam dhriteshaiva. The distinction among different intellects. Similarly, the distinction between different types of resolution, resoluteness. Gunataha, based on the sattva, rajasa and tamasa gunas. Trividham, these 3 types. Shrunu, listen to me. Prochamanam asheshena pruthatvena dhananjaya. I am going to tell you separately. I am not going to mix up. Pruthatvena. That is, what is sattvika buddhi, what is rajasa buddhi, what is tamasa buddhi, what is sattvika dhriti, what is rajasa dhriti, what is tamasa dhriti. I will define clearly without any mix-up. That is pruthatvena. Asheshena prochamanam. Are you going to tell me exhaustively or are you going to tell me partly, partially? No, I will tell you everything in full. Asheshena prochamanam. I am going to tell you everything in full. Because the subject is rather significant for day-to-day activity, he is using all these adjectives. He didn't use these adjectives for the earlier subjects. When he takes up buddhi and dhriti, he is using these adjectives. Asheshena prochaman, prithaktvena, all this. And then he addresses Arjuna as Dhananjaya, not for the first time. Many times he has addressed Arjuna, and here only somehow Shankara feels the necessity of giving the meaning. Digvijaye manusham daivam cha prabhutam dhanam jitavan tena asau Dhananjayaha Arjunaha. Before this Rajasuya Yajna was undertaken by Yudhishthira, Arjuna went in all the directions to conquer various kings and bring forth the wealth which was lying useless with all those kings in their kingdoms. Wealth which was lying without any proper use with various kings in all the four directions. Arjuna brought by conquering those kings. Digvijaye manusham daivam cha prabhutam dhanam. Both human wealth and divine wealth. Manusham dhanam, daivam dhanam. That means wealth which was in temples, which was in places which are associated with Bhagavan, but lying unused. So all that, lying in king's palaces, etc., etc. All that he brought and he handed over to Yudhishthira before performing Rajasuya Yajna. So he is known as Dhananjaya. बुद्धेर्भेदं धृतेश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय
प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च कार्याकार्ये भयाभये बन्धं मोक्षं च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी
Sa buddhi sattviki. That buddhi is called sattviki buddhi. So buddhi is strilinga in Sanskrit grammar. That is why he is using the term sattviki instead of sattvika. That is for strilinga buddhi. In Sanskrit, as you may be knowing, all nouns come under either pullinga or strilinga or napumsakalinga categories. Now, buddhi comes under strilinga. Sa buddhi sattviki. That buddhi, that intellect is called sattvika intellect. Which intellect? Pravrittim cha, nivrittim cha, karya, akarye, bhaya, abhaye, bandham, moksham cha, ya veti. Ya veti. That buddhi, that intellect which understands, which knows, pravritti, nivritti, that which will bind me into samsara, that is pravritti. Because Shankara makes it very clear. In the second line, bandham and moksham coming, so pravritti and nivritti should be associated with bandham and moksham. That is his interpretation. So pravritti is activity in which I engage myself, which will bind me. Nivritti is I dissociate myself, I run away from such activities because I am interested in moksha. Sannyasa margaha, moksha hetuhu sannyasa margaha, that is nivritti. Pravritti is engaging in activity, nivritti is avoiding that activity. If you don't want to consider bandha and moksha, even otherwise, Shastra says do's and don'ts, isn't it? Do this, don't do this. So this can be taken as indicative of that also. Pravritti, activities which must be done. Nivritti, activities which should not be done. Karya, akarye. Activities to be done, activities not to be done. Vihita, pratishidhe, laukike, vaidike va, shastra buddhehe, kartavya, akartavye, karana karane. Either in Shastras or in Vedas or in mundane practice. If something is prohibited and if you do it, something must be done, you don't do it. That is karya akarya. Deshakaladyapekshaya drishta drishtarthanam karmana. While deciding whether it is karya or akarya, you have to consider desha, kala, the place, the time, etc., circumstance. Drishta, drishta, arthanam. The fruit of that karma, whether it may be a visible fruit, it may be an invisible fruit. What is invisible fruit? Fruit which will come later on, maybe in my next jnana. That is invisible fruit. Fruit I will enjoy immediately. That is visible fruit. Drishta, adrishta, arthanam, karma. All this you must consider. That is karya, akarya. Bhaya, bhaye. Certain activities you should be afraid. Certain activities you should not be afraid. Shastra itself says, harmful activities, evil activities, there is no point in claiming I am very courageous, I don't bother about, I don't have any fear. That is a foolish courage. You must have fear when it comes to activities which will result in violence, which will result in sin. That is bhaya. Abhaya is free from fear of doing dharma. While doing dharma, that man may criticize me, I may land up in some trouble. Maybe the king will become angry with me if I do this dharma activity. That should not be there. That is freedom from fear. So where you should be afraid, where you should not be afraid. Chora vyagradi bhayam. You should be afraid of thieves and tigers, etc. Drishta drishta vishayoho bhaya bhayoho karanam. When you consider bhaya and abhaya, always consider visible and invisible results. Drishta adrishta. Bandham moksham. Bandham is bondage to samsara. Moksham is release from samsara, never coming back to samsara, becoming one with Paramatma. So that also you should know whether this activity will take me towards bandham, whether it will take me towards moksham. If it is going to take me towards bandham, why should I do it? So all this, one who considers that intellect, because intellect is what is deciding. That is why he is categorizing the intellect, not the mind. We have seen before. Sankalpa Vikalpatmaka Manaha. Manas will consider alternatives. Whether I should do this, whether I should do that. If I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will not happen, etc. All the alternatives. And buddhi, intellect, is the one which decides, decisive, resolute, on the basis of Shastra, on the basis of Dharma. Yes, you consider so many alternatives. Those alternatives are not correct. Only one alternative is correct. It chooses one alternative. That while choosing, these are the considerations. That then only it will be a sattviki buddhi. I picked up the Subhashita here. Yeah. यदकार्यम् अकार्यमेव तत् न बुधः तत्र मतिं नियोजयेत् परयापि तृषार्जितैर्जनैः न हिरथ्यागतमम्बुपीयते. Always Subhashita gives examples, very practical examples. Whatever is not to be done, a wise man, a man of good intellect, will not go anywhere near that activity. If it is not to be done, not to be done. Jad akaryam akaryameva tat na buddha tatra matim niyojayet. What is the example? Praya pidrishardite janaihi. People who are terribly suffering from thirst, terrible thirst. They are looking for a drop of water to quench their thirst. Will they go and drink water which is collected on the ground because of the rain? There is a pool of water. Well, all our cities are having pools of water on the roads. Will anybody go and drink that water because he is thirsty? He will not do it. Nahi rathya gadam ambupiyate. He will never drink water which is lying on the road. Rathya means road. Even though he is overcome by extreme thirst, parayapi trishardite. Similarly, whatever is akaryam eva, it is definitely not to be done. You are very clear on that. Pravrittincha nivrittincha karya karye bhaya bhaye. Bandham moksham cha ya vetti buddhi sa partha sattviki.
Yaya dharmam adharmam cha. Wait, sorry. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha karyameva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhis sa partha rajasi.
That buddhi is rajasi, that intellect. Sa buddhi rajasi, he partha. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha akaryameva cha ayathavat prajanati. He always understands wrongly. Ayathavat means far from reality. Yathavat is reality, correctly. Ayathavat wrongly. He has a knack of understanding everything wrongly. Dharmam, adharmam cha. Dharma he will understand as adharma. Adharma he will understand as dharma. Karyam cha akaryameva cha. Whatever is should be done, he will take as not to be done. Whatever should not be done, he will take as to be done. Ayathavati prajanati. Always understands incorrectly. Always understands wrongly. That buddhi is Rajasi buddhi. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam cha karyameva cha ayathavat prajanati buddhi sa partha rajasi. Next.
Adharmam dharmamitiya manyate tamasavrita sarvarthan viparitamscha buddhis sa partha tamasi.
Sa buddhi tamasi. That buddhi is tamasi. Which adharmam dharmamiti ya manyase tamasa vrita sarvarthan viparitascha. In the Rajasi case, he has no clarity. He has no clarity whether it is dharma or adharma. Sometimes he makes a mistake, sometimes he may not make a mistake. He lacks clarity. Whereas in the case of Tamasi Buddhi, he has clarity. Clarity in the wrong direction. Always, without fail, he will consider dharma as adharma and adharma as dharma. Why? Tamasavrita, because his intellect is surrounded by tamas, ignorance. Tamas is ignorance, darkness. What is the darkness? What is the ignorance? Ignorance of Shastras, ignorance of guidance by gurus. When you don't have guidance by elders, when you don't have knowledge of Shastras, and you think what is dharma and adharma, this is what will happen. Adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate, that intellect which considers adharma as dharma. Tamasavrita, surrounded by ignorance, surrounded by tamas, darkness. Sarvarthan viparitascha, always, any matter, sarvartha, any matter, whichever matter he takes up, always he takes the contrary view, viparita. That is, dharma will be adharma, adharma will be dharma. Never he will make the correct decision because he is always tamas. What is the definition of tamas? We have seen in plenty before. Driven by laziness, driven by a tendency to harm others, no purity, etc., etc. So naturally, how will he be able to judge what is dharma and adharma? He will always judge wrongly. That is the idea. So let us go to this. स्वायत्तमेकान्तहितं विधात्रा विनिर्मितं साधनमज्ञतायाः विशेषतः सर्वविदां समाजे विभूषणं मौनमपण्डितानाम् Ajnatayaha, for those who are ignorant. Now we are in the subject of ignorance, no? Tamasi. Sadhanam vinirmitam. For them, luckily, Vidhatra, Brahma has created a cover so that their ignorance is not coming to light. They can hide their ignorance. One cover has been created by Brahma. Swayattam, that is inherent in them. It is not acquired from outside. It is inherent in them. That cover is inherent in them. Ekanta gunam, which is unique. You can't find it in others. That kind of very useful. Ekanta is very useful for me. What is that cover? Visheshata sarva vidam samaje. In the assembly of great scholars, this man is apandita. He is not a scholar. He is a very ignorant man. Maunam vibhushanam. He will keep quiet. Silence is the greatest ornament for such ignorant people in the assembly of scholars. If he goes and talks something, his ignorance will come out. So that is why he said Chadanam Ajnataya. What is the Chadanam? Mauna. Keeping quiet. Don't expose your ignorance. That is possible. That ability these people have been given by Brahma. Swayattam ekanta hitam vidhatra vinirmitam chadanam ajnatayaha visheshata sarva vidam samaje vibhushanam maunam apanditanam. There is one more Subhashitam. It's a very famous one. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti hayamalayam yesha shesha sthavaramicchanti kimascharyamatah param. There is a passage called Yaksha Prashna in Mahabharata. Some of you might have been exposed to that. Yudhishthira goes to a lake when he is when he is very thirsty. When he is about to drink that water, one Yaksha appears and he says, you cannot touch that water unless you answer this question. All the four Pandavas, his brothers, earlier went and then they all died because they did not care for this Yaksha. They started taking that water and they died. Now Yudhishthira was wise. He said, okay, ask me the questions. The person who asked the questions was Yamadharmaraja himself. He wanted to bring Dharma Shastra to knowledge of all of us, so Yamadharmaraja used this occasion. Also to bring out the greatness of Yudhishthira. So it's a very famous passage. Later on, Yudhishthira prays to the Yaksha to bring the Pandavas back to life, and they are all brought to life. Now, one of the questions was, what is the great wonder in this world? We are not talking about the seven wonders. What is the great wonder? Kim Ascharyam. What is the Ascharyam here in this world? This is Yudhishthira's answer. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti hayamalayam. Every day, ahani, every day, we find people going to the abode of Yama. That means dying. We find people going to the abode of Yama. Gachanti hayamalayam. Even then, Shesha Thavaramicchanti, all the people who are left behind, they are all seeing these people dying every day without fail. All the people who are left behind, they want to live continuously. If that man is dying, I am also going to die one day, if not today, tomorrow. That knowledge, that jnana is not there. They want to live eternally. Thavaramicchanti, they want to live eternally. Kimascharyamatah param. What is greater wonder than this? Is there a wonder greater than this? With a question, Yudhishthira answers. Beautiful. Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti hayamalayam shesha sthavaramicchanti kimascharyamatah param. Adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasavrata sarvarthan viparitasya buddhissa parthatamati. We close for today. We have exceeded the time limit. Any questions?
Anyone has any questions? Kindly unmute and ask. No questions.
No question. We close for the day. We meet again tomorrow, 7 a.m. Sunday morning IST tomorrow. Day after tomorrow is Naraka Chaturdashi, Snanam, etc. Tomorrow there is no engagement in the morning connected with Deepavali. So there is no difficulty in conducting our class tomorrow morning. So we continue with our lecture tomorrow morning. Happy Deepavali to all of you. We meet again tomorrow. Namah Parvati Pate Hara Hara Mahadeva Sarvatra Govinda Nama Sankirtanam Govinda Govinda Sri Mahatripura Sundarye Jaya Jaya